No po prostu bałem się o swoje życie, tak.
Hidden.
Czułem się, można powiedzieć, że tam jak prawie niewolnik.
And enslaved. In unknown numbers. The true scale of modern slavery in the UK is in the tens of thousands.
No need to be frightened now, okay?
Unlikely victims slipping through the cracks.
Dobrze? Samochód podjeżdża i tylko ten.
Rescued by a charity, filling a gap the police simply cannot.
We're going to facilitate rescue of 2 potential victims of human trafficking.
Sky News has exclusive access following their work for the last year.
Spokojnie. Jak chcesz, to ten.
Saving those targeted by organised gangs.
No skoczyć z mostu, tak, po prostu.
Criminals, often going unpunished. Victims on our streets.
Nothing suspicious yet. Get it.
Next door.
It's so commonplace in certain areas that it just goes under the radar.
Everywhere.
In essence, human conveyor belt of slavery.
The trafficker is visiting the house every single day. He's using the address and also he's controlling the victims on the daily basis.
Under cover of darkness, a rescue is underway. And what's the plan when you get there?
We're gonna first of all secure the place, make sure, everyone is saved.
This is Peter, an outreach worker for Hope for Justice, the charity rescuing victims of slavery who don't want to engage with police.
Big distrust in authorities, big distrust in pretty much everyone.
This time at 5 in the morning, it's for a whole family.
I think this is where we are. Okay. Let's go back. No dobrze. Okej, mogą oni z wami wejść? Z panią wejść? You can go. Yeah.
The plan is to evacuate immediately. A Polish mother and father and their 2 young children who've been living here. Their every movement restricted.
Hello, little ones. Hello. No need to be frightened now, okay?
They must leave now with their whole lives in just a few bags.
Right.
But we need to move. Time is pressing. The traffickers could be back at any second.
A macie? To zabieramy. Gdzie on jest? Wsiadajcie do samochodu szybko.
No to jak ja mam ich dwójkę trzymać?
Wsiadajcie do samochodu.
And they visit every day.
You never know, maybe some friends or someone just passing by. We don't want, because of the kids and the victims, and of course ourselves. We don't want to take any unnecessary risks, so we want to be out of here as soon as possible.
Agnieszka, Rafa and their 2 children, Olivia and Brian, have each been surviving on an average of £10 a week, completely controlled by exploiters.
The trafficker, he said to this lady, if the doors are locked, I will smash the doors and get my way into the property. They don't really care about kids. What they do care is only the profit and themselves.
At a secret and safe location, the charity's hub. The investigators, mostly former detectives, learn that this entire family unit has had their meagre wage and child benefits stolen from them for months.
Did I ever think about going to the police to report it?
Because I was afraid of him. I wasn't sure what he will do if I go to the police.
Their manipulation was subtle, clever, and then ultimately threatening.
If they was to sum up their life in the last 6 months since June, how has it been?
Patrzenie w telefon, nie potrafi 15 razy dziennie dzwonić. To nie było nawet w życiu nikogo.
Nie odebrałbym telefonu, nie przyszedł do domu, bałbym się wyjść na ulicę.
They were forced to open fake bank accounts, the occasional tenner thrown their way.
And how difficult a decision was it to ask for help?
Tak, teraz? Przez 2 miesiące byliśmy w kropce, nie wiedzieliśmy gdzie się zgłosić, jak się zgłosić, do kogo nawet. No, z czasem, jak dzieci były chore, przeziębione, to jego to nie interesowało.
The Midlands team, led by retired detective Gary Booth, includes former officers with experience of exploitation. He says this trafficker worked his way into the family, slowly introducing threats.
He's dehumanised the parents, and clearly that has a knock-on effect with the children. And they're at a point now where they've had to rely on drop-in centres, on food banks, just to get through day by day. And it's interesting as well that one of their parting comments today to my colleagues was their life hasn't been worth living for the last 6 months.
How unusual is it for a whole family to be brought under psychological control like this?
It is unusual. It's happened before, and we've come across families who we've rescued as family units. So it has happened, but it is rather unusual. But again, it's from a trafficker's perspective. They look at a family as a commodity, and each member of that family is a means of earning money, illegitimate money.
I have no doubt that this is a case really of modern slavery. The big decision is whether they would engage with the police, whether they could speak to the police about what's happened.
Moim zdaniem już co mnie w targu wsadził, się mówi na minę. Lepiej niech ten człowiek odpowie za co. To były pieniądze dzieci, nie miał prawa ich zabierać, nie miał prawa moich dokumentów zabrać.
Since it was set up, Hope for Justice has rescued nearly 600 victims of modern-day slavery. But while some decide to go to the police,
Just want to hang on here. We're going to speak to them first.
many decide not to.
Żeby nikt nas nie wierzył, idziemy na komisariat.
Deep distrust means UK forces like the West Midlands, which is working well with the charity, sometimes never come into contact with victims.
It goes under the radar with a lot of people. They don't realise that these people are being exploited on a day-to-day basis.
Another night in Midlands suburbia and another rescue. In this area, the team have recovered over 235 victims in just a few years.
We're going to facilitate rescue of 2 potential victims of human trafficking.
It's weekly, sometimes dangerous.
The trafficker and people in the house are violent.
And like this more typical case, mostly it's victims of forced labour.
Oh, there they are. Yeah. Sorry. Dobra, panowie, chodźcie. Wrzucamy wszystko. 2 minuty, dobrze? Samochód podjeżdża i tylko ten. Proszę zapiąć, jakbyście mogli, panowie.
They're among tens of thousands of modern-day slaves in the UK.
Okay, how are they?
So, okay, stress out, you know, because as I said, everyone in the house knows that they did escape, so there was a stressful situation.
Philip and Misha were living in a house controlled by a criminal gang.
Take a seat, my friend. Przez ostatnie dni...
No najgorsze są weekendy, Pani Piotrze. Jak chłopacy idą do pracy, też mamy spokój, nie? Trochę odeśpimy, ale tak.
Trafficked in with the promise of a better life, their IDs stolen, then paid little or no money.
I'm satisfied that you are victims of human trafficking, of modern slavery.
Through simple psychological control and sometimes physical, traffickers are profiting by the thousands from just a few. In the UK, modern-day slavery is believed to be worth hundreds of millions of pounds.
What we've done by taking 2 people out of that guy's earning mechanism, that's going to hit that trafficker short term in the pocket. The sad thing is there's going to be 2 other people in Poland now, or in the UK, such as who will be recruited and who will fill that void. And I think that's where...
It's non-stop then?
Yeah, it's in essence human conveyor belt of slavery.
Along with 4,000 others last year, they opted for the national referral mechanism, setting slavery victims up in safe houses. Eventually, they reported to police. A Sky News investigations found the amount of crimes recorded under the Modern Slavery Act has increased by nearly 200% over the last 2 years to more than 2,300 in 2016-17. While most forces said they held no information on prosecutions, from the 17 that did hold data, there were only 25 convictions in 2 years, representing a conviction rate of just 1.9%. Now living hundreds of miles away, 8 months on from their rescue, we revisited the family.
Dzień dobry.
Agnieszka and Rafa have begun a new life.
Na razie tylko zaręczyny. Pokaż. Tak, no niedawno, proszę się nie starać.
Rafa now has a job and supports his family, but still finds it difficult to accept that as adults they were ever open to exploitation.
Znaczy on, no trochę, ja się na początku próbowałam nie dać, no ale no, jakoś jak widać, no nie wyszło mi tak. No próbował, no.
No przerobił, no tutaj mnie.
No bo wystarczyło mi, że na razie jakoś go przeżywam, tak, więc no, męczył mnie, więc no, stwierdziłam, że niepotrzebne, żeby od razu całą rodzinę, tak.
Każdy się czuje, że jestem no głupi, no w takim wieku no nie mam 10 lat, że dziecko za cukierka. No.
There's still fear of a knock at the door that they might be found.
Znaczy teraz to już jest lepiej, nie? Na początku, jak żeśmy tutaj przyjechali.
Jak to było, mi to powiedział jego przyjaciel, że dużo osób ginie w Anglii ze słuch po inginie. No. Więc różnie mogło się zdać z nami. No skoczyć z mostu, tak, powiem wprost.
And while police say they've tried to contact the family multiple times, they're still waiting for news.
Ani numeru referencyjnego nie mamy.
Ja nie byłam przesłuchana do tej pory.
You still want this person to be brought to justice?
No musi odpowiedzieć za swoje czyny, bo jeśli ja z tym coś nie zrobię, nasze miejsce już ma kogoś innego, na pewno już innych ludzi wykorzystuje.
West Midlands police say they did investigate and there was a lack of evidence.
So how is Agnieszka? Dobrze, no lepiej niż na Westbrookie.
The line between exploitation and slavery is blurred.
The children are so much happier.
And while they escaped, countless others remain enslaved, even re-trafficked. This is, Agnieszka says, how life should be for all. In 2017, Britain, free.
No, teraz ja idę z uśmiechem do pracy, wracam z uśmiechem. To jest coś pięknego, właśnie.